Welcome to today's webinar, the 3 procurement case studies that show positive ROI of SRM. I'm sure that plenty of others are going to continue to flood into the session today as we had a decent amount of signups, but we're going to make sure to get into the content to keep the time frame here. My name is Sam Jenks, and I am the Chief Growth Officer at Kodiak Hub, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. In addition, I'm joined today by my colleague, Richard Teuchler, who has been instrumental in building today's content, and thank you for that, Richard. He will also be aiding me in the background to answer your questions and to issue some very important polls, so make sure to keep your voting fingers ready. Lastly, we'll be joined, as I often am, by my third co-host, Charlie, the office dog. So if you hear a bark in the background, it's probably just Charlie adding his point of view to the day's content, and he can be rather opinionated, or possibly something came through the mailbox. Short about Kodiak Hub, for those who don't know about us, Kodiak is a cloud-based supplier relationship management suite that helps procurement and sourcing professionals just like you to build smarter and more sustainable supplier relationships with deeper sourcing insights in the form of robust ratings and analytics. Our solution at Kodiak Hub provides an ecosystem and a modular suite that our users can plug and play to manage supplier information, documentation, risk, compliance, performance, and collaboration, all from one place. During the course of today's webinar, of course, you're going to become more thoroughly acquainted with the Kodiak Hub solution and better understand how our SRM technology has and continues to deliver positive ROI within our customers' procurement teams. And with that said, I'd like to get into the agenda for today's webinar. During these next 40 to 45 minutes, I will try to thoroughly cover the following points, starting with the introduction, which we are in right now, moving into a section that I like to call No Pain, No Gain. The next section being the ask and the brand, two very pivotal points to building a business case for supplier relationship management. Next, moving into a section that I like to call trying to get a seat at the table, or maybe not. Moving then into the actual meat and potatoes of today's session, the 3 customer case studies displaying positive ROI of SRM, finally landing in a demo of Kodiak Hub solution, a bit of a teaser if you're interested in checking it out deeper. Then we will also have a poll towards the end of the session where you can be able to suggest that you are interested in getting a demonstration. And then we will also get a Q&A session going towards the end. And as I've written in the chat bubble, do not be afraid during the course of the session if something comes up, you have an idea, you have a question about the day's content, or about Kodiak Hub's solution, then feel free to write down that question in the chat bubble, and we'll make sure to get around to it during the Q&A. So without further ado, let's get into the day's content. I want to start with a question, the question and the reason why we're all here, really. How will we see any ROI from supplier relationship management? I mean, this is the common question that we all have in common today, right? This is why we're here. It's something that you've probably been asked when seeking additional budget for the development of SRM processes as well as technology in your organization. And the fact is, without any type of clear and impactful value levers which will show ROI, getting your fair share of the budget for any technology or CapEx investment can be rather difficult. And I mean, you guys already know this, but it can be especially difficult in today's climate. But why is that the case? Well, this is what your board and management team might be thinking. You know, you've been getting by just fine with the ERP, Excel, and homegrown solutions. Why would we need to add on another solution or more people or better the process? You're doing a great job. Just keep it up. There's no need for any CapEx investments right now. Here's the facts, though. You're feeling the pain, so you would feel the gain of an SRM solution. No? Unfortunately, your exec board may not be inspired by the pain you're feeling. They speak the language of gain. And during this session, we'll be speaking in gain, giving your team enough ammunition and concrete rhetoric so that you can make your case for developing SRM processes and technology. And here I would actually like to stop for our first poll of today, asking everybody in attendance, how many of you believe your management team truly understands the value of supplier relationship management? Please take the time to answer on the poll. How many of you believe that your management team or executive board understand the value of SRM? Do they absolutely understand it? They kind of do, or they don't really understand it. Thanks, Annalie. Please make sure to answer in the poll session as well. Appreciate your comment. So it seems like about 80% of attendees believe that either their board and management team kind of understand the value of SRM or that they don't, with only 13% responding that they in fact do understand the value of SRM. Well, it's a good thing then that we're here. Maybe we could be able to inspire you in your journey towards inspiring your board or management team as to what the value of SRM is. And it's good that we're doing this around this time of the year because, as we all know, it is that time of the year again. Budget season. It's time to start sharpening your elbows, getting scrappy and lobbying directly for why your procurement team is worthy a fair share of the technology budget for 2023. So let's start at the nucleus of showing the positive ROI for SRM. And this starts with a really solid business case. Now, if we strip away, all of the bells and whistles and the acronyms and corporate jargon of every good business case, in my opinion, it really comes down to two central factors, things that are more on the outskirts, the softer elements to a business case that I would like to highlight. First and foremost, the ask. Your ask is the foundation of the business case for new programs, resources, initiatives, projects, or any type of technology investments, right? There's two questions that everybody's going to be thinking when you step into the room. How much will this cost? And how much will we make or save? Which everyone will be thinking. And these are the questions that you will have to make sure that are well researched and you have a clear response to. And in order really to convince others that there is a positive ROI to be seen and had from SRM, you'll need to balance the hard analytical facts where you locate risks and suggest positive gains with a more high-flying and visionary type of approach. You need to, in the end, inspire. A good way to inspire is to ensure that your business case actually has a brand, a feeling, a face. As said best by Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Simon Sinek himself authored a book back in 2009 titled Start With Why. And in this book, he explained his theory behind how the success of many great brands and movements can all be related back to what he calls the golden circle. In reality, this golden circle model is no more spectacular than this, right? A bullseye or rings. Sinek's theory is that people are driven by purpose, and keeping purpose in the center, the why in the center, you're going to be able to inspire and lead much more simply. Representing the purpose is the why, followed by how, representing processes or methods, followed by what, representing results or outcome. And during a TEDx talk that I could suggest to everybody watching, Sinek presents this model stating that the majority of people in companies communicate from the outside in, telling others what we do, how we do it, and why we do things. And this might be the way that you might be building your business case as well. He uses an example of why Apple is able to inspire and remain compelling in their marketing and sales, stating that they're a brand that's messaging comes from the inside out. And this should be the inspiration also to building your brand for your business case for SRM. Paraphrasing his presentation, he says that the messaging from Apple might sound something like this. Everything that we do, we challenge the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. Our products are beautifully designed and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers also. I believe that any business case needs to inspire vision and change, and you should carry likenesses of a brand within your case. In order to inspire investment, you need to sell why it is that you deserve it. I know that you deserve the budget for investment in SRM processes and systems. The question is, do you? I want to paraphrase and talk a little bit about a conversation that I had the other day with a customer, because he said something that I found really interesting, and I wanted to take it into this webinar as well. He said to me that he's been coming across that there's this really neurotic question that's been coming up a lot within conversations in procurement, both on social, but other conversations he's having with other leaders. And it's a concern that he's feeling a lot. People are asking, how will procurement get a seat at the table? How will we get more attention? How will we increase our influence? And I'm curious here today, do you believe that your procurement team has a real influence in the strategic decisions in your organization? I would like to poll and understand, take the temperature of the session today. Do you in fact believe that your team has a real influence in the strategic decisions being made in your organization? Go ahead and take the time to answer the poll on screen now. You do, in fact. Sometimes you have, and not really are the three options. So please go ahead and take the time to answer on today's poll. Waiting in some of those last responses, but it seems about 75% of you believe that sometimes you do or not really, whereas 25% believe that you do, in fact, have an impact on the strategic decisions. And that's, of course, saddens me to hear. But at the same time, I think that it's makes room for improvement, right? The conversation that I had with this customer, it continued, and he said something that I found rather refreshing and rather empowering, and I wanted to share it with you guys. He said, why is procurement worried about getting a seat at the table, right? Procurement itself has all the means necessary to build our own table. And he has a point. The exec table is already crowded, right? If you're able to construct a solid table and show the value of procurement, then people will want to come and sit with you. You're not a support function anymore. You hold an immense power and influence. You manage the spend, you control the supplier base, you manage the risk. The role of procurement is becoming the cornerstone to many global organizations. And I'm not just saying that you hold the power in order to flatter you, of those of you that are in attendance today, but seriously, to make sure that you know your self-worth and are ready to sell it in to the rest of the organization. The fact is that SRM is at the heart of procurement. It's the heart of risk management, cost reduction, product innovation, quality management, supply chain delivery, sustainable development, and so much more. Simply put, I mean, your supplier base is one of the greatest assets your organization can impact in sustainable manners, but also leverage to drive your own top line value. What you need to show your management team is that lacking processes, resources, and systems for managing supplier relationships is simply just leaving money on the table. And with this, I'd like to lead into yet another poll and asking you, with all of these things in mind, do you believe that you have the solutions and processes in place today to manage supplier relationships in a proper way? Go ahead and respond on the poll today. Do you have an SRM software like Kodiak Hub in space today? Do you have a mix of homegrown solutions, or do you use something like Excel, Word, Notes, and alike? I can already see that an overwhelming number of those responses that are rolling in are landing where I thought they would, and that's why we're here today. About 95% of the attendees have voted here that you guys use some type of mix of Excel and alike, or have a homegrown solution. So what we want to try and suggest today here is, of course, an alternative to that. Not saying then that Kodiak Hub is the right alternative, but we'd love to show you how our solution has in fact been able to create massive ROI for our customers who are currently utilizing it. And with that, I would like to get into the first case study that we're going to be presenting today, which is that of our customer, HL Display. For those of you that don't know HL Display helps retailers and brands around the world to create attractive and profitable in-store environments. and they can help to strengthen a consumer's really shopping experience. They are active in production sites in Sweden, Poland, China, and UK, with sales units across more than 20 countries. Some of you guys working in the retail space might already be familiar with them. The challenge that HL Display faced was a pretty normal one, really, one that some of those in attendance today might be already facing with the thought of your last response on that poll in focus. HL Display really wanted to save time on due diligence, risk assessment, and overall supply chain compliance, right? The group purchasing team recognized that supplier management was a pillar to help them meet their sustainability goals. And with close to 1,000 suppliers and much of their supplier data localized on a distributed ERP landscape or on individuals, computers or spreadsheets, notes, and emails, well, HL Display was having a pretty hard time leveraging their supplier data in the most efficient way. Information was rather scattered. The SRM processes required really heavy manual work, which meant that the entire due diligence activity that they were looking to improve upon was really taking a long time, 8 to 10 months, in fact, to gain complete and utter clarity. And by the time that they were ready to report, it was time to start the whole process over again. The solution is that HL Display adopted Kodiak Hub's SRM solution, but what they did was that they centralized, onboarded, and collected supplier data in a more streamlined manner, getting out of their localized notes and spreadsheets and into a consolidated and central platform where the purchasing team gained a central view and access and visibility in order to have an empiric set of data to evaluate. The HL Display team also then leveraged Kodiak Hub's self-assessment and onboarding capabilities, building customized self-assessment templates with our drag and drop capabilities, combined with different types of our rating methodology and our global library of international industry best practices, which made sure really that they were legally meeting their requirements, as well as then any type of industry specific requirements that they had within their due diligence activities. In essence, HL Display saw some pretty great results, but those that were the key results was that HL Display went from working 8 to 10 months to create their sendouts and gather reports on supplier self-assessments and supply chain compliance down to just 3 weeks from start to finish. Through the application of better SRM software, the team also managed to meet their goals of 90% of their supplier code of conduct compliance, which thus met their sustainability goal they had set out for themselves. Simply, they were able to take their SRM from manual to magnificent and saving a significant amount of time in the process. Moving into case study number 2, RWC, a favorite customer of mine. RWC is short for Reliance Worldwide Corporation, and they themselves have their roots in Brisbane, Australia. We work with their team globally in the UK, US, and Australia. And they were founded back in 1949, started with a small tool shop, and fast forward to today, well, they're 2,000 employees globally, 31 distribution hubs, 16 manufacturing plants, and are servicing over 60 countries throughout the world. They have a broad spectrum of products, and they are really working in the high performance and time-saving solutions for plumbing and heating. They are actually the largest within their segment globally. RWC had a challenge, though, despite the fact that they were such a great organization at its core. Well, they were, alike HL Display, having a mix of different solutions, their Access database and spreadsheets where they were storing different contracts or subcontractor contracts, supplier information, and all of their supplier documentation. And with some supplier data being localized, but not all departments having access to the same data and information, things were really spread out, and it was really time consuming to fetch all of the necessary supplier information needed when they needed it. And with over 500 suppliers, they also had a pretty hard time keeping up and checking that all of their certificates and contracts were remaining up to date with the Access database that they had. So to keep up with the manual work, their purchasing team actually had one full-time employee who focused the bulk of their time on managing supplier information, documentation, and compliance. RWC had also decided on a global level that they were going to work with conducting more detailed reports on ESG metrics, right? Another layer of complexity. to meet their different sustainability initiatives. And they quickly ran into some problems using spreadsheets and the like to keep track of supplier engagement and the overall sustainability profiles related to social, environmental governance. So Kodiak Hub helped out. RWC adopted our solution about 2 years ago to start capturing and consolidating the essential supplier data and information into one platform. This gave their quality and procurement department access to dashboards and reporting functions to easily view and evaluate the same supplier data and KPIs, right? This has created a common view for the organization and really enhanced the overall supply chain management and visibility, as well as then the stewardship in the team, as well as a means to be able to manage quality on site. With Kodiak Hub's reporting, notification, and collaboration functions, RWC was also able to start approving suppliers much quicker and in a much more efficient manner, creating also then massive time savings when they were onboarding suppliers, as well as in pre-qualification and qualification of suppliers. Lastly, with the help of Kodiak Hub's attribute library and automated templates, and also other third-party risk solutions, including, for example, our credit rating solutions, which we have out of the box, their team was able to create much more detailed reports on ESG metrics, but also visualize more robust 360-degree views of their supplier base, which was cutting down on the types of internal checks that they were doing during qualification as well, being able to take, for example, finance into the discussion early. RWC went from having one person with, of course, input from additional team members as well, working full-time managing supplier data and information from various internal sources, to this person shifting their focus to strategic development, improving the supplier base and the supplier base performance. The efficiencies really gained from Kodiak Hub's adoption have saved their team an entire FTE worth of hours per year, which can now be spent instead on optimizing RWC's supplier collaboration and driving strategic purchasing initiatives. Additionally, the solution utilized at RWC has also really helped them with more robust ESG reporting, where they've included metrics like CO2 emissions, modern day slavery, waste, reach, ROS, WASH, and so much more. And now they have a really robust set of KPIs to be able to ensure that they are in fact reducing and creating real impact within the impact of their global supply chain. Woo! Now moving into the last case of the day. Are you ready? Case number 3, a sweet case, which is our customer, Cloetta. Cloetta, founded in 1862, is a leading confectionery company in the Northern European countries. Their products are sold in more than 50 countries worldwide, with a stronghold really in the markets of Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Germany, and the UK as the main markets. They have some of the strong brands that you might recognize, such as, Läkerol, Candy King, Jenks, Kex Choklad, Malaco, Sport Life, Red Band, and many others. They have 7 production units globally within 5 different countries, and they are as well traded on the NASDAQ in Stockholm. The challenge that Cloetta was facing was that they were looking for something to give them better insights in their global supply chain, because they were previously outsourcing their supplier management to a third-party vendor with the mix of also solutions to be able to support. But it was difficult for them in that case to be able to have a more agile approach and take action on rapid changes that were happening in the supplier base. Cloetta wished to take the next step and insource the services with the support of a user-friendly platform, which they adopted Kodiak Hub. And at the same time, they wanted to improve their overall communication and ability to manage the relationships and manage performance with their supplier base so that they could create savings. Cloetta has, of course, really harsh requirements on supplier compliance, and they're audited several times a year as a food production body, and in the food production space, this is no shocker. They handle a large amount of raw materials directly purchased in the end by consumer. So there's really no room for error within their supplier management. The solution that they adopted is that Cloetta brought its supplier management in-house. under the hood of one consolidated platform. Kodiak aided Cloetta as well to customize several features and content specifically for the needs of a company within food production, enabling their team as well to quickly store supplier data and quickly align global processes as well for governing suppliers' compliance and ensuring supplier quality. With this new 360-degree overview of their supplier performance, together with different types of notifications to push users and suppliers towards activities, Cloetta was closer to the pulse of their supplier base than ever before. As a result, with a user-friendly and sleek solution to be able to monitor their suppliers, as well as build different types of new lines of collaboration, Kodiak Hub solution helped Cloetta to not only meet its goal of 100% supply chain compliance, but it also helped them with a simple and understandable way of using a solution, a user-friendly solution with a UI and UX that really enhance adoption. It helped them to build more structure in their organization to govern and build commonality in their way of working across the procurement, sustainability, and quality departments, which really enhanced their overall control, not only internally, but also within their supplier base. So there you have it, three customer case studies, three procurement case studies that show the positive ROI of SRM. So what is it that we've learned as a little bit of a summary here? What are some key figures that you can take away with you? Well, at Kodiak Hub, we typically see ROI being driven in three primary dimensions, which are the three little tips as well as the value levers that I want to kind of leave you with here today before we get into the demonstration of Kodiak Hub. These are the three value levers that you should also maybe aim to present when seeking investment for SRM, as they are those that can show great ROI. At a strategic level, SRM can, of course, enhance top-line value, but also help to avoid any type of shareholder loss, which can prevent anywhere between 1 to 3% market cap losses we've seen in our case studies with Kodiak Hub. At a tactical level, you can be able to improve your buying power, your negotiation power, the control of spend, and ultimately SRM solutions can lower your total cost of ownership, which can of course then lead to 3 to 5% total spend savings, as we've seen within our customers. The last bit, time savings, day-to-day operational activities. The operational value is that SRM will save your time in aligning processes, automating busy work, and then also this can ultimately lead to anywhere between 15 to 20% FTE savings, even higher in some of the case studies that we've shown today. In the spirit of not just talking about it, but also being about it, I would also like to switch over my screen here to provide a quick demonstration of the Kodiak Hub solution and display a little bit how modern supplier management solutions can aid your team to drive sourcing excellence, but also deliver ROI in various dimensions. But before I switch over my screen to the practical examples in the Kodiak Hub solution, I would actually like to ask our last poll for the day. And it's a bit of a cheeky one, but asking those in attendance, who would like a extended demo of the Kodiak Hub solution in the upcoming weeks? Please take the time to respond now. Would you like to get a demonstration of Kodiak Hub in the coming weeks? If you say yes, please make sure to do so now if you would like a demonstration. And we will be in touch with you directly following this session today, where we can be able to get in touch with you with a link. It will be one of our sales representatives that will be reaching out to you, and they will be able to give you a link so you can be able to directly book a time in their calendar. So please respond now if you would like a demonstration of the Kodiak Hub solution, an extended demonstration as well. I see that a question came in that you're more focused on contract management, compliance, and ESG pieces. We definitely have solutions for those as well, not only within our baseline functionality, but also within the performance evaluation module, which I might not get around to today, but we can definitely touch upon those things in a session together. So again, please make sure to list your interest if you are interested in a demo of the Kodiak Hub solution following this event in the coming weeks. I'm going to now then turn off the poll if that's okay, and we're going to instead focus in on the solution itself here. So welcome into the Kodiak Hub solution. At a glance, we can be able to see our suppliers around the globe, which gives us then a quick indication of the macro risk associated with where we do or do not have suppliers located globally. We can also be able to see that macro risk in the countries by hovering over those countries and seeing the Safe Source Index, which is feeding us with country risk indices from social, environmental, and geopolitical indices, as well as then the country economic rating. We can utilize the different global filters around the solution at any point in time to cut up this cake exactly as we would like to. So segmentation, category management capabilities exist, so we can be able to quickly identify different suppliers and different groupings, whether that's based upon category insights or different typifications, segmentations, or typifications that we have in our business, so we can be able to locate those suppliers that are most important for us to locate. Here then on the screen, we also see those individual supplier profiles, which we can quickly jump into at any point in time. What I'm going to give you a quick roundabout in the solution with is to present a few of the interfaces, just to give you some background of the solution and the way that it's built up. The insights section is where we can be able to find our supplier data. We can break up our supplier data there. We can really manage it as we would like to, adding new suppliers, exporting data of suppliers, but also digging deep into really robust supplier scorecards where we can get 360-degree views of the risk, compliance, and performance of suppliers, as well as then documents, collaboration, and other aspects related to the relationship. In the impact section, we can be able to manage assessments, audits, as well as evaluations, building templates that are unique to the suppliers we're managing, rolling out campaigns or send outs so we can be able to automate all the boring stuff and get back really sleek reports that are then also weighted, driven by your unique KPIs and acceptance criteria. And the last element of the impact section is then the action space, where you can be able to manage corrective actions, but also other simple types of comms in a dynamic portal back and forth with suppliers. And the last bit is then the intelligence space, which is where you're going to have more robust insights to your suppliers, so you could be able to get an overview of the big data. But first, we're going to start in the suppliers section underneath insights here. Here, as you see, we can be able to quickly find suppliers, for example, driven by their typifications or segmentation. So I can quickly identify different suppliers, for example, working in a particular project. I can utilize the rating methodology to quickly find top and bottom performers. Different data properties I can be able to have on file here are data that I can either import into the solution or also have being shared via an API integration with a master data solution or a ERP solution as well. We can do things like add new suppliers as we would like to, whether those are approved or non-approved suppliers, to send through a qualification workflow, or we could also be able to just quickly jump in to find a single supplier as we would like to, so we can hop into their scorecard. From this particular interface, we're going to see a lot of insights about this supplier. This is our control center. Okay, this is our cockpit to be able to manage a single supplier. Here we can be able to see different data properties that either the supplier has shared and managed themselves in the self-registration templates that we allow suppliers to be able to fill in when issued to them, or data that is being updated by the user or by different types of integrations that you guys would have with data solutions in your organization. So here then all data, whether it's contact information, tax information, banking details, down to the typifications and segmentations of this supplier, can be managed and found. The other aspects you see here are different rating profiles on the left-hand side. If we shift our view over here, The left-hand side of the screen, then we see the safe source rating, the performance rating, and the sustainability and governance rating. These are equaling, as you see in the top right-hand corner, to an average of the overall global rating, building a really balanced and 360 view of the supplier, as well as then a credit score, which is being driven directly by the VAT or company registration number, which we can be able to expand upon directly here, driven by then our partner in the space, Mode Finance and AI Technology, which is getting their data from robust credit rating institutes themselves, cooking it down so you guys have then sleek results here to be able to take that directly into consideration of the supplier's overall health. The safe source rating, this is then a macro or country risk rating driven then by internationally recognized indices, over 25 internationally recognized indices within social, environmental, and also financial or geopolitical aspects. So you can dive deep into those indices as you would like to and better understand the contextual risks related to the countries in which you're sourcing, in this case, Sweden. As for the sustainability and governance rating, this is where you can build up your self-assessments or your audits and get back responses that are weighted and rated from suppliers, which of course then will let you in on the actual business practices and overall risk profile in that supplier's individual business. These can be things related to, for example, sustainability, whether it's environmental or social aspects, more business specific aspects such as industry specific things, product management, contingencies, information security, as well as then basic business management, quality management, supply chain management, so forth and so on. You guys can customize underneath these 14 different standardized areas and ask the questions that you want to, whether that's, for example, asking suppliers for certifications. And of course, then those values of those responses rolling in from suppliers will be weighted and rated. So you're not having to dig in to find individual data properties. You're able to see how a supplier is doing at a glance, spotting risks and opportunities quickly, but also being able to directly locate all of the documentation that's been shared with you and all of that compliance documentation or any type of contracts or documentation that you guys want to keep on file as well. You can be able to directly locate that data here and that documentation here as well. The last element is the performance rating, where you can be able to dig into the output and performance of a supplier and really be able to better understand how they're doing over time with the help of the rating methodology. We're then aggregating data properties from internal stakeholders, from your hard data in your ERP or the supplier themselves, so you guys can track progression over time. Is a supplier getting better or are they getting worse? And you can also see aggregated views of this data to be able to view the progression over time as well. Again, getting back to the beauty of the rating methodology sitting at the core, you're not just gathering data, you're gathering insights which you can act upon. There's also some softer elements to the scorecard, of course. You can take notes, for example, say that I'm updating the approval or the flagging level with the correct user rights. Well, maybe I'll leave a note for a user to tell them I'm doing so. If I want to, I can be able to do quick media insight searches. And here, then I can be able to do a media insight search, which we've done, for example, on Kodiak Hub. And here we could be able to also say that we want all of the data actually before a certain date. Well, then we can be able to apply those different data properties and get up instead other articles. So we can control the media that we're seeing. And we can also be able to get up, for example, any adverse media that's surrounding a business as well. The other aspect in which we have on the scorecard here is the last third-party data property. And this data feed and data provider is then feeding in sanctions and politically exposed persons data, which we can dig deeper into further down on the page, giving us then a direct input of the general information about the company which we've searched. Some sources of data that has listed this organization as politically exposed or adverse within the media, some linked subsidiaries, as well as then down to the politically exposed person level, where you can actually view the individual who has been politically exposed and why, in fact, it is that they've been politically exposed, as well as then what other entities they might, in fact, be linked to there. What we also have as the last element on the scorecard is the actions. And here is where you can be able to see ongoing communication, but also different types of archived communication with a supplier. You can jump directly in to that collaboration portal and communicate back and forth where you and your suppliers have a chat bubble back and forth. You guys are able to share documentation in this space, as well as then everybody can see a history over time of what it is that's going on, a communication and collaboration portal back and forth so you guys can be able to close out corrective actions, but also keep documentation and communication all in one place, so it's not getting lost in people's inboxes, but instead it's being archived in scorecards as well as archived within the action space here. The last elements of the assessments, audits, and evaluations I'd love to get into. We don't have enough time to be able to do so today, but if you're interested again in a demonstration of the solution, then feel free to reach out, or we'll launch the poll again after we're done with the session here. The last element I just wanted to show was simply the analytics, and this is where you can be able to start making sense of the data when you're getting up bigger data, bigger trends, bigger capabilities to compare and contrast suppliers, plot correlations of your supplier data, spot, for example, suppliers that are or are not compliant with different types of certifications that are necessary, but also be able to then see really who it is that are the best suppliers. And that is the essence of what we're doing here at Kodiak Hub, giving you a solution to manage information, build deeper insights and intelligence that you can act upon to drive innovation and impact in your supplier base as well. So with that, I would like to end today's session as far as the demonstration goes and the content of the webinar goes. And I would like to move into the last element of the session, which is simply a little bit of a Q&A. So please feel free if you have questions. We'll wait a moment to get those questions written into the chat bar, and we will then pick out a few select questions to be able to then talk those through.